moderates are now on board behind this plan. The question now is, can you get the right flank concerned about the price tag? That's what this meeting at the White House is about this afternoon. Guys.
And we will be watching it closely. Monteraju live on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much. 5 down, 5 to go. Louisiana's governor is declaring that law enforcement is, quote, halfway there after a 5th inmate who escaped from the New Orleans County Jail was captured last night. Corey Boyd is one of the 10 inmates who broke out last Friday in one of the biggest jailbreaks in the state's history.
And like the previous apprehensions, officers nabbed Boyd within the city limits. Here's what the state attorney general said about the remaining escapees earlier today.
My gut tells me that most of them are probably staying close to home unless they have significant resources somewhere else. I mean, you're just unlikely to go somewhere where you have zero support or help. And most of these, if not all of these individuals, grew up in New Orleans. You know, they were young children really around the time of Hurricane Katrina. Their resources are here.
CNN national correspondent Ryan Young has the latest here, and I know, Ryan, you just spoke to people who were involved in the manhunt.
I did. Since the last time I was live with you guys, I talked to Crime Stoppers. They are stressing at this point that the tips have been coming in pretty steadily over the last few hours. In fact, you have 2 different sort of rewards out there, which is almost $20,000 per inmate. So people have been calling in. They've been giving great tips so far. One of the things that they asked for, one of the things that they wanted us to tell our viewers, is to make sure that they're also getting great descriptions about what they think the people are wearing when they do see them. And so far, we talked about that nexus around New Orleans. That has been very helpful for law enforcement as they're doing this coordination. Now, one thing that people talk about all the time, especially in the law enforcement community, a lot of times between agencies in the New Orleans area, there's not sort of the cooperative nature that they need. But in this case, with hundreds of agents on the ground, that has really been pushed together in terms of people not only calling in, but communicating to different branches of law enforcement. The other thing that we should point out here is Massey, one of the guys you see up there on your screen on the top corner there. He's escaped from another facility before back in 2019. So here's someone who may have had the planning involved and was able to get out of a place before. Now he's escaped again. Of course, this plays out like a movie where they were able to get someone who worked in that facility to turn off the water so that they could push through that area, because otherwise that cell would have filled with water. Right now, like you said, 5 have been captured, but this manhunt continues, and even right now, the tips have been flowing in, especially after one of these hits, and people see pictures like this in the New Orleans area, and there's that facial recognition technology that's in that New Orleans area that has also been helping authorities sort of get hits for the positioning for where these people may be. So this is ongoing. We continue to follow it. Guys?
All right, Ryan, thank you so much for that. With us now is CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe. He's a former deputy director of the FBI. And Andy, as we note, half of these escaped inmates that have been captured have all been captured inside of the city of New Orleans. What do you think about that? And do you expect that the 5 others are also in New Orleans, or might they have fled somewhere else?
Well, it's first of all, it's very predictable for all of the reasons that the State Attorney General, who you had on just a few seconds ago, indicated. So it is incredibly hard to stay out on the run evading law enforcement. And to do that, it requires significant resources and a network of people who will help you. You need, first and foremost, shelter, you need food, you need people who will provide that for you. If you're going to then move and try to get out of the jurisdiction, you need money and transportation. So it's totally predictable that these men would rely on the networks that they have. That's friends, associates, family members, girlfriends, whatever that might be, in the local area. So that the task force that's trying to apprehend them is doing absolutely the right thing. We know that fugitives who have been successful in staying out of the run, someone like a Whitey Bulger, who was a notorious organized crime member in Boston, Whitey was able to stay away for years because he had spent decades planting money, weapons, and resources in different places around the country that he knew he would need the day he went on the run. It doesn't seem like we have.
This call may be recorded. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message.
To get out of the facility, that's about your most dangerous escapee right there. He's done it before, he obviously tried to do it again. In his prior successful escape, we know that he had some associates or Confederates who were nearby. He and another person went under a fence in broad daylight and simply ran away from a detention facility, hopped in a vehicle that then took them to Texas. That's where they were apprehended. So again, he was relying on the assistance of a Confederate close to the facility. The question is, how much assistance or support has he had this time, enabled him to get further away from New Orleans? The longer this goes and the further away they can get, the better chance they have of staying out there for a while.
Sheriff Hudson actually went in front of the New Orleans City Council yesterday and was pressed on disorganized and fragmented communication in the hours after the escape. How do you see it?
Brianna, there are so many problems, so many questions with this scenario. Right from the very beginning, listening to the initial reports, I mean, there are just so many things that jump out at you.
Two of you? Yep. 10 minutes, 3.7 miles. How are you today? Good, how are you? Beautiful day, huh?
Yep. Handicapped, equipped shell in which they had already spent some time using tools, removing that sink and toilet piece of, that was stuck in the wall there, and then of course securing the help of the maintenance man who turned off the water to that cell.
Can you hand me one of those masks to the right by your on the door there? Yeah. Significant assistance. Can you hand me one? Thank you.